On April 10th, 2023, the committee subpoenaed FBI Director Wray for information regarding the FBI's handling of domestic violence extremism investigations against Catholic Americans and its effect on protected First Amendment activity. On April 28, 2023, the FBI provided 248 pages of documents in response to the subpoena, but the FBI's production has still been partial and is deemed to be deficient at this point. We do appreciate the partial compliance, but I have a series of questions for you, Mr. Uriarte, about that production and what remains to be provided to Congress. In response to the committee's April 10th subpoena, the FBI produced documents on April 28th. The production was accompanied by a cover letter from Acting Assistant Director Christopher Durham that said, quote, "Upon the completion of our internal review, the FBI will provide additional information on its findings to the committee." Can you speak to what step of the process the Bureau is currently in on that internal review and when we can anticipate an additional production?
Well, Congressman, thank you for the question. As we spoke about last time, this is something that, I take personally, given how problematic that particular document was. I know the FBI takes it very seriously as well. That's why they have sought to do this internal review by the Inspections Division. I understand that review is nearing the end. I don't know how close it is, but I understand it is wrapping up soon. And the plan is, as I think has been indicated to the committee previously, but just to make sure it's clear, the FBI plans to brief the committee on the findings of that report. And the intention of that report is to both walk through what happened here, how this happened, and how the FBI can make sure that another offensive product, like the FBI Richmond product that we're speaking of now, never happens again.
Well, certainly good to hear that we share that last objective. One of the things that we believe is very pertinent to getting to the bottom of those important questions is understanding which personnel within either local law enforcement or within the Bureau were involved in the review and approval of the memo itself. And that is one of the things that hasn't yet been disclosed to this committee. Is that part of your ongoing work for information that will ultimately be disclosed to us?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. Yes, certainly we are taking into account all of the requests that the committee has made. Where we are in our own internal processes, we're continuing to work through a variety of information requests from the committee, including the transcribed interviews. I mention those only because it's our understanding that the transcribed interviews have been a significant priority for the committee, and that, as you know, takes significant time and investment on our end, but we're continuing to work through the requests, particularly on the Richmond item, recognizing that it is a priority for this committee.
And last on that subject, of the production that was previously made to the committee, there were significant redactions therein of information that to the committee appeared to be important for us to be able to review. As part of this internal review process, also consideration of what, if any, portions of the prior production are appropriate for disclosure in an unredacted state to us in the future.
Well, thanks for the question. As I think we've talked about before, I view my job as being in a position to be able to, as efficiently and effectively as possible, get the committee the information it needs. And that is part of why we will sometimes include redactions on documents that are produced to the committee. It enables us to protect our confidentiality interests, but focus on getting the committee the information that it's in search of. And when there are questions like you've raised about specific redactions or specific information that may underlie redactions, that is, I think part of the normal accommodations process. And, I'd love to have that continued conversation with you and your team.
On May 3rd, 2023, the committee wrote to Director Davis of the U.S. Marshal Service requesting information about why radical left-wing groups have not been arrested for harassing and intimidating Supreme Court justices outside of their private homes, pursuant to 18 United States Code 1507. The submission deadline was May 17th, 2023. To date, the committee has not received a response to this outstanding request. We have since reached out to both DOJ and the U.S. Marshals regarding the request, including a call to the department and its component on June 7th. To date, we have not received a date certain by which we can expect a response. Can you provide insight for us on when we might expect a response to those requests?
Thank you, Congresswoman. I appreciate the question. I know, again, we spoke about this previously. As you know, protection of the...
And I understand, Mr. Uriarte, but you're actually articulating one of the committee's concerns, is that these are topics that we've now had to raise in the context of these hearings on multiple occasions, which is why you're hearing an emphasis today on a request for dates certain and the articulation of a timeline by which we might actually have the responses so that we can obviate the need to have further hearings where we ask these same types of questions of you.
Well, I certainly understand that interest, and I think we share that interest, Congresswoman. As I think you can appreciate, the letter to the Marshal Service was a change and addressed new facts that had not been discussed previously, right? That was something that happened between the last hearing and this hearing, and so that changed the focus of what we were doing in terms of responding to the requests. But again, I think the important thing here is that we are continuing to work with staff. We had, I think a collaborative discussion, as you mentioned, on June 7th, and we hope to have a response for you in the near future.
Thank you, sir. My time is